Welcome back, dear viewers. Please show your great support with only like and subscribe. Thanks. If you thought spring would bring calm, sunny weather across Canada, think again, because this first weekend of spring is shaping up to be anything but quiet. From snow and wind in the east to lingering flood risks in the west and a mix of everything in between, this is a turbulent transition from winter to spring, and you're going to want to stay updated. Let's start with the big picture. Canada is currently under a shifting weather pattern, and that's what's driving all this activity. Instead of a smooth transition into spring, we're seeing a clash of lingering winter cold and incoming milder air. The result is multiple systems moving across the country, each bringing its own set of impacts. There are really two main weather stories to focus on this weekend. The first one is in Atlantic Canada, and the second is across parts of the Great Lakes region. Starting in Atlantic Canada, this is where conditions could become quite messy, especially for Newfoundland. The southwest part of the island, including areas like Port aux Basques, is expected to be one of the hardest hit locations. Here, we're looking at a combination of strong winds and snowfall, which could make travel very difficult at times. Visibility may drop in heavier snow, and blowing snow could add to the problem. This is not ideal weather, especially for a weekend when many people may be traveling or making outdoor plans. Elsewhere across the Atlantic region, including Nova Scotia and other parts of the Maritimes, conditions will vary depending on your exact location. Some areas will see rain, others snow, and some could even deal with a mix of precipitation types. This kind of setup can create rapidly changing road conditions, so it's important to stay cautious. Now let's shift our focus to the Great Lakes region, particularly northwestern Ontario near Lake Superior. This is another area where winter is not ready to let go just yet. We're expecting snow in this region, and there is even the possibility of some freezing rain mixing in at times. That combination can lead to slippery roads and hazardous travel conditions, especially if temperatures hover near the freezing mark. Further south across the Great Lakes, conditions are a bit quieter to start the weekend, but that won't last long. Clouds will increase, and precipitation will begin to move in as we head into Sunday. Snow is expected to develop first, especially in northern areas, before potentially transitioning into rain as temperatures fluctuate. There is also a slight risk of freezing rain during this transition period, which again could create some localized hazards. Now moving west into the prairies, the story is quite different. After dealing with active weather earlier, conditions here are starting to calm down. Manitoba, in particular, will see improving conditions through the day, with skies clearing and a quieter pattern setting in. However, temperatures will remain on the cooler side, closer to seasonal levels for this time of year. That said, not every part of the prairies will stay completely quiet. Along the foothills and into parts of Alberta, there will still be some localized snowfall. These won't be major accumulations, but enough to remind you that winter is still hanging on in some areas. As we move further west into British Columbia, there is finally some good news. After days of heavy rainfall from an atmospheric river, the province is getting a much-needed break. Conditions are turning quieter, with only scattered flurries expected in some interior regions. However, even though the rain is easing, the impacts are not over yet. Rivers and streams are still running high, and water levels may remain elevated for some time. So even with improving weather, there is still a need for caution in areas that have seen heavy rain. The avalanche risk has also improved slightly, but it has not disappeared. If you're heading into the mountains or backcountry, it's still important to stay alert and prepared. Looking ahead into the rest of the weekend, moisture will try to return briefly to parts of the BC coast, but this won't be anything like the recent atmospheric river. It will be short-lived and much less intense, with conditions remaining generally calm overall. Now let's talk about temperatures, because this is another key part of the story. Across Western Canada, temperatures are cooling down after some unusually warm conditions earlier in the week. Parts of British Columbia and southern Alberta had seen temperatures climbing into the 20s, but now things are returning closer to seasonal levels. Across the prairies, temperatures will also remain seasonable to slightly below normal. And as we move into Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada, the trend continues with temperatures near or just below average for this time of year. So overall, the entire country is settling into a more typical late March temperature pattern, but with active weather still in play. As we head into Sunday, we'll see the next wave of snow moving across eastern Canada. Snow will build in through the morning hours, particularly across parts of Ontario and into the Atlantic region. There is still some uncertainty in exact precipitation types, especially in areas where temperatures are close to freezing. That means some locations could see a mix of snow, rain, or even ice pellets. Looking into early next week, another system is expected to move through Atlantic Canada. This one could bring another round of messy weather, including a chance of ice pellets and mixed precipitation, especially along coastal areas. This could set up along the South Shore and Eastern Shore regions, potentially leading to difficult conditions once again as we start the new week. So the key takeaway for this first weekend of spring is that it's going to be active and, at times, unpredictable. Atlantic Canada will deal with wind, snow, and mixed precipitation, with Newfoundland seeing some of the worst conditions. Northwestern Ontario and the Lake Superior region will continue to see snow and possibly some ice. The prairies will quiet down but stay cool, with a few pockets of snow. And British Columbia finally gets a break from heavy rain, though some impacts will linger. This is a classic example of how spring doesn't always arrive quietly in Canada. Instead, it often comes with a mix of winter and spring conditions all at once. So if you have plans this weekend, make sure to check the latest forecasts, allow extra time for travel where needed, and be prepared for changing conditions depending on where you are. Spring may have officially arrived, but winter is definitely not done with us just yet. Stay safe, stay informed, and keep watching as we continue to track this evolving weather pattern.